but also open. I come not to speak as a man defending himself, but as a leader willing to acknowledge fault. And I come not to diminish my office, but to honor it by admitting a truth that all leaders at some point in their journey must face. Sometimes we misspeak, sometimes we misjudge, and sometimes we must apologize. Several weeks ago, in a live broadcast, I used the word dictator to describe Captain Ibrahim Traore.
Ladies and gentlemen,
brothers and sisters across the African continent, distinguished members of the international community, and most importantly, Captain Ibrahim Traore, President of the Transitional Government of Burkina Faso. I come before you with a heart that is heavy, but also open. I come not to speak as a man defending himself, but as a leader willing to acknowledge fault. And I come not to diminish my office, but to honor it by admitting a truth that all leaders at some point in their journey must face. Sometimes we misspeak, sometimes we misjudge, and sometimes we must apologize. Several weeks ago, in a live broadcast, I used the word dictator to describe Captain Ibrahim Traore. That single word has echoed far beyond my intention. It has stirred emotions, fueled debates, and created tension between Jamaica and Burkina Faso, two nations whose histories should unite them, not divide them. And tonight, I am here to say plainly and sincerely, I regret those words. I take responsibility for them, and I offer my heartfelt apology. When I spoke that day, I spoke with conviction. I spoke as a leader who believes deeply in the values of democracy, values that Jamaica has held close for decades. I spoke from a place of concern, but I failed to speak from a place of understanding. Conviction without compassion is dangerous. Principles without perspective can wound. And in calling Captain Traore a dictator, I crossed the line between principled critique and personal disrespect. It was not my role to reduce a fellow leader, especially one facing immense challenges in his homeland, to a single word that carries such weight, such judgment, and such finality. Yes, I believe in democracy. Yes, I believe in elections, in parliaments, in institutions that protect the will of the people. But I also believe in respect. Respect for the paths that nations choose. Respect for the burdens leaders carry. And respect for the struggles that shape their choices. Captain Traore, in my choice of words, I failed to extend that respect. And for that, I am sorry. To the people of Burkina Faso, you are a nation of resilience. You are a people who have endured colonization, coups, poverty, and the ongoing threat of violent extremism. And yet, you stand proud, you stand tall. You continue to fight for a future that is free, independent, and dignified. Your leader, Captain Traore, took power in a time of crisis. He is young, yes, but he is bold. He faces a reality most of us cannot imagine, an ongoing war with forces that seek to destabilize and destroy. While the world debates, he acts. While others hesitate, he makes decisions. I may not share his methods, I may not embrace his path, but I must recognize his courage. And I must respect the fact that his people look to him not only as a ruler, but as a symbol of their fight for sovereignty. When I labeled him a dictator, I failed to honor that reality. I spoke too quickly, too harshly, without the humility that every leader owes to another who walks the hard road of governance. My fellow Jamaicans, I also owe you this truth. Leadership is not never making mistakes. Leadership is about admitting them when they happen and correcting them before they further harm. When I called Captain Traore a dictator, I did so with the belief that I was defending democracy. But in doing so, I risked damaging Jamaica's reputation as a nation of respect, as a nation that values dialogue over division, and as a nation that stands for unity among the peoples of the global South. We are a small island, but we are a proud one. Our voice on the international stage matters. And when we use that voice carelessly, the world listens not to our wisdom, but to our mistakes. Tonight, I want Jamaicans to know this. Your Prime Minister is not above apology. Your Prime Minister is not above reflection. And your Prime Minister is not too proud to say, I was wrong. To Africa, our ancestral home, our mother continent, I extend this apology with even deeper sincerity. Jamaica is tied to Africa by blood, by history, by spirit. The chains of slavery that bound our ancestors were forged in Africa. The songs of freedom that carried us through struggle were inspired by Africa. And the strength that keeps us alive today flows from the same river that nourishes you. How then could I, as the leader of a nation built on the resilience of Africans, use words that divide rather than unite? How could I, even in defense of democracy, fail to show empathy to a brother leader navigating storms beyond my imagination? I do not take lightly the pain my words may have caused across the continent. And I stand before you to repair, not to wound, to build, not to break. Some will ask, why apologize? Why retract words once spoken? Isn't it weakness? No, it is strength. It is strength to stand firm when you are right, but it is even greater strength to step back when you are wrong. Pride may win applause in the moment, but humility builds trust for generations. I apologize, not because I was forced, not because I was pressured, but because it is right, and because the relationship between Jamaica and Africa is too important to be clouded by careless words. Captain Traore, allow me to speak to you directly. I may not walk your path, but I respect the road you travel. I may not lead your people, but I respect the burden you carry. I acknowledge your courage in standing against forces that seek to weaken your nation. I acknowledge your determination to assert independence in a world where small nations are often pressured and dismissed. And I acknowledge that while we may disagree, I should never have dismissed your leadership with a single word. I extend my hand to you not as an adversary, but as a brother, not as a critic, but as a fellow leader. I hope you will accept this apology, not as weakness, but as an invitation to dialogue, to partnership, to mutual respect. What do I hope comes from this apology? I hope it sparks a deeper conversation between Jamaica and Burkina Faso. I hope it reminds the world that our nations, though small in size, are large in spirit and capable of setting an example of humility and reconciliation. I hope it reminds leaders everywhere that words matter, that we must wield them carefully, not recklessly. That in an age where every statement is amplified across the globe, humility is no longer optional, it is essential. And most of all, I hope it builds a bridge between Kingston and Ouagadougou, a bridge between the Caribbean and Africa, a bridge strong enough to withstand the storms of politics, built not on pride, but on respect. My fellow Jamaicans, citizens of Burkina Faso, members of the global community, tonight I stand before you not as a man without fault, but as a man willing to admit fault. To Captain Ibrahim Traore, I say again, I am sorry. To the people of Burkina Faso, I am sorry. To the people of Jamaica, I am sorry. To Africa, to the Caribbean, to the world, I am sorry. May we move forward not with resentment, but with reconciliation, not with division, but with dialogue, not with arrogance, but with humility. Because in the end, leadership is not about always being right. It is about always striving to do what is right. Thank you. May God bless Jamaica. May God bless Burkina Faso. And may God bless all nations striving for peace, dignity, and unity.
Now,